In this video, we will learn creating database for web application. I taught you how you can create a static home page for your applications with responsive sliders, responsive menus, responsive HTML forms. We discussed about creating a simple hotel registration form for creating hotel management system. We have also discussed about all the core concepts or the fundamental concepts of PHP. Now in this part, I will teach you how you can create database for any application using MySQL or MariaDB server. To access MySQL or MariaDB server, we will use PHP MyAdmin web tool. PHP MyAdmin web tool is automatically there when you install a software like XAMPP or WAMP server that we have already discussed. As an example, I will continue my hotel management system application, and as an example I will show you how we can create a database for that application. Make sure you have XAMPP or WAMP server installed and running. In your XAMPP control panel or WAMP server control panel, make sure that Apache and MySQL modules are up and running, and then go to your browser. You can go to browser of your choice, type localhost and type php myadmin. So php myadmin is a web tool for management and administration of databases. When you will open php myadmin for the first time, so in this sidebar here that you are seeing, in this sidebar some databases will already be there. These are system databases. By clicking on new, we can create our new database. Here you have to enter the name of your database. Let's say name of our database is hotel underscore management. I can call it db underscore hotel underscore management, so that by using this db prefix I know that this is a database. Leave this collation as Latin 1 underscore Swedish underscore ci. Leave default value for whatever default value you have. Choose that default value. Ignore everything and create. This is how your database is created. Remember, in this example, I will show you how we can create databases without writing SQL commands. I will show you the SQL commands also. So to create a database, the basic SQL command is create database, and suppose our database name is db underscore hotel underscore management. In MySQL we can use this left inverted comma. This left inverted comma is just below the escape key in our keyboard. So by using this left inverted comma, we make sure that the identifier that we have written here, the identifier has starts from this part and ends here. Sometimes we have a space in our identifier name. So in that case, MySQL will not be able to recognize the database names. That's why I have used underscore here and a left inverted comma here, just to make sure that the value that is written inside these left inverted commas is a database name. Database name, I will tell you one more thing. Database name, table name, columns name. So we will create data tables also, because without data tables, database is nothing. A database is a collection of data tables, we can say. In data tables, we have data written in tabular format. We have rows and columns in our data table. So in our data table, we have rows and columns. Columns are attribute of data. So we discussed an example here while we were creating a form for hotel management system. We discussed that while registering a hotel, a user will or a user has to enter these fields: hotel name, hotel email, city, pin code, password, and various other things. So these fields here are the column names. These fields here are the attributes of data, and using these attributes of data, we'll be able to identify any particular data. So columns are attributes of data, or we can say fields that are needed in order to describe data, because it's a tabular data. So there will be some columns, and inside those columns we will have our various informations. So we have already seen about tabular information, and rows are simply new data. So suppose we have data of 100 hotels. That means we have 100 rows of data, or we can have 100 rows of data. So in every row there is information about new data. So we'll see these examples. So our job is to create database here and data tables here, and to create a database we can simply use create database and database name. So with database name, column name, with database name, column name, and table name, we use this left inverted comma. So you will see that also. So now our database is created here, and now it's time to create a table. And in your table, you can see first you have to choose how many columns you want to create. By default, they have 4 columns. If you will press go, again you can add columns later also. But as per the discussion, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 columns for hotel registration. So I am creating a table here called tbl underscore hotel. So this tbl underscore hotel will store details of our tables. Number of columns, you can see we have 5 columns here. I will add one column from myself. That column will be an identifier. In most of the tables, we will have an identifier. This identifier is a unique key, or is a unique value, you can say, and it's an identity for the data. So every row has unique data, and or every row can have unique data, and this identifier works as unique identity for that data. We call it primary key. Primary key is the main key of any particular row. In table, we have this column to identify data. For example, suppose you have some government ID. So your government ID is something like this, we can say. Let's say this is your government ID. So in your government ID, there are n number of characters. For example, in India, we have PAN number, we have driving license number. So everywhere there is some driving license number, and no two people can have the same driving license number. Similarly, no two people can have the same tax identification number. So this first column that we create in every table is a primary key that works as a unique identifier, right? Just like your government ID. So by just by viewing your government ID, or just with the help of your government ID, one can tell all the details about you. So similarly, we have one extra column in our table. So, and that is primary key. That's why I am having 6 columns here. I will press go, and now my table will be created. You can see this is a table designer here, and PHP gives a really nice table designer here. First column I will call it as hotel underscore ID, again, which is simply the identification or the identity. Now we have data type here, right? So this is data type of columns. We have studied data type in PHP. We have string data, we have integer data, float data, we have dates, we have data that has long text. So integer, varchar, text, and date are some common types of are some common data types in MySQL. We will make our hotel ID as integer. Its length will be, let's say, 3. So as your government ID has n number of characters, so our hotel ID can have maximum 3 characters, and it will start from 1. So hotel number 1 will have a ID of 1, hotel number 2 will have a ID of 2, and so on. So hotel which will be registered at 100 place will have a ID of 100. So in 100 you can see there are 3 characters, and that's why I am setting it 3. And let's say we'll store maximum of 100 hotels in this database. So that's why we can say that the maximum length will be 3. In upcoming versions of MySQL, this limitation will be removed. So let's move ahead, and there's one more thing that we have to do for making our column as an identity, and that is we have to set it as primary key. You can see we are adding an index here that is called primary key index. It will set a constraint on this particular table, primary key constraint. We can hit go here. Our primary key will also be automatically incremented. So this is auto increment. That means we don't have to enter the value of this hotel ID. MySQL server will fill the value of this particular hotel ID. So now we have created hotel ID here. Let's create hotel name. So this will be our second column, which will store the information of hotel name. Now just simply think what data type of value can be entered here. So answer is string, because hotel names are mostly alphabets. So we have a string data type here. So in a string data type we have char and varchar. Tiny text, text, medium text, long text. So char means characters of fixed length, and we can set it for 0 to 255 character values. Varchar means values which will have variable characters. So we'll select varchar here. In char, suppose in your government ID there can be alphabets and numbers. So alphabets and numbers will make it alphanumeric, and hence the type of data will become string data type. But every person from that country will have a fixed character for that government ID. For example, for PAN number, suppose there are 10 characters. So for every citizen, that will be 10 characters only. So in that case, we can use char. Char means fixed. When you know the value that will come in your column, it will have fixed number of characters for everyone. But Hotel name can be variable. Some hotels have really long names. Some hotels have smaller names. So that's why we can choose varchar here. If you have if you want to store a data that will be a very large, so a text column with a maximum length of, you can see, 2 into 2 raised to the power 16 minus 1 characters. So it can store up to, you can say, 2 byte, stored with a 2 byte prefix indicating the length of the value. So it can store really long data, this text here. Similarly, we have medium text which can store more data. Then we have long text which can store 4 GB of data. So you can see, just by hovering over to these data types, you can see their description also. And our hotel name, I don't think will have more than 100 characters in the name. So that's why I will choose varchar. Some hotels can have a name of, let's say, 15 to 20 characters, and some hotel can have a name of 80 to 90 characters. That's why it is variable character. Next, we have this one more constraint here, that is null constraint. If you will check anywhere on null constraint, so null constraint means that this particular column can have a null value. That means if someone is not submitting a value for this column, so null will be entered here. We already studied about the null data type. So we are not checking null here, that automatically makes it not null. So we cannot have null values now in hotel name. So while registration from the user form that we created here, so we created this user form, right, if you remember. So this is hotel name, hotel email, address, hotel city. This is actually pin code, and I think we have copied one column 2 or 3 times. I will fix that. So now it is fixed. You can see hotel name, email address, city, pin code, number of rooms, etc. So the type of value that we are storing here cannot be null. So we cannot enter null values here. That is the simple meaning of this. We cannot leave any field blank. User has to fill all the information here. Everything is mandatory. Then we have, after hotel name, we have hotel email. Again, in case of hotel email also there are variable characters. Someone has a smaller email ID, someone has email ID with more number of characters. Again, in hotel name there can be alphabets, there can be numeric values, there can be special characters also for abc123 at gmail.com. So you have various special characters also. That's why it is string data type. We will choose varchar here, and let's say no one can have more than 100 characters in their email name, email ID. Again, it is also not going to be null because it is mandatory. Suppose some particular value is not mandatory in your case, so then you can check null there. Then we have city and pin code. Again, city name will also be variable, so we can set varchar and let's say 50. Then we have pin code. So suppose I am creating this application for Indian hotels, and in India the fixed length for pin code is 6, and it is an integer data type. So this is just an example why we set these lengths here. So we cannot have any pin code of 5 characters or 3 characters. So there's a fixed length and it will be of integer data types. Here we can use char also, but I will use int here. After pin code we have password here, and we can name it like pwd or whatever. And in password also we can have variable characters, and I will put 100 here because I will use encrypted passwords for this application. So encrypted passwords can have up to 64 bits or more also. So I will use some hash algorithms to make the password encrypted. We have studied about something like MD5 or SHA-1. So we'll use the password hash function here. I'm just putting it 100. I will reduce it later. But setting it 100 here. And now there is one more column which is left here, and that is called number of rooms. So we can add one column from here. I will call this column num underscore rooms, number of rooms. It will be a varchar data because we have hyphens here. So and it will have maximum of 6 characters. So it's a varchar of 6, and we can set actually char here because in this case we have fixed numbers here. So 01 hyphen 10, and in this 30 or more I will simply use 30 plus. So we'll have fixed 6 character. I will make it in such way that it will have fixed 6 character. So we can use char here. So again we have our table created now. We have table set up, and you can click on preview SQL to see the SQL code of how you can create this table. So this is our code for creating a table. I will explain it. So you can also use this code to create a table. I will save this as create tbl.sql. So .sql is the extension for SQL files. Very simple. So we are creating a table in db underscore hotel underscore management. If you remember from the first part, I told you that with database name and table name, we use this left inverted comma in MySQL. It is not mandatory, but it is a good practice to use it like that. So create table db hotel management dot tbl underscore hotel. You can also write it like this. So create table tbl underscore hotel, but make sure that you are inside that particular server. So you can see we are in db underscore hotel management as database. So we can create directly also, or you can write it like this. It's up to you. First column is hotel ID. I told you that with column names also we use this left inverted comma. We have for hotel ID we have data type of int of 3. It will be not null. It will be auto increment. Then we have hotel name varchar not null because we did not check the null box anywhere. That's why every column is not null. We have to fill it. Remember, it can be empty, but it cannot be null. So because there's a difference between null and empty. We have hotel email, which will be a varchar value of 100, not null. We have city, pin code, password, and number of rooms. And finally, after every column name, you have to put a comma here. So the sequence is column name, data type, null not null, then auto increment if it is possible, and you don't have to use comma here. You simply have to use a space, and then if your column definition is finished, so you can put a comma here. We'll create many tables and you will see that how it is written. Just try to remember it, just try to write it in your notebook or anywhere so that you can recall what we have written here. Engine is equal to INNODB. There is another engine called MySAM, and there are various engines. So I will also share a video in which I will explain about difference between INODB and MySAM and various engines that are there. So as a beginner, you don't have to worry too much about this. Engine is equal to INODB. Primary key is set on hotel, and you can see that create table is started from here, the parenthesis is started from here. Inside this we have these comma separated values, so we have from row number 2 or line number 2 to 9 we have these comma separated values here, and then we have name of these columns here, and we have varchar and everything. Now I will share this code with you. With every chapter I will share the code, so that suppose you have to create a table for hospital management. So this will be hospital ID, hospital name, hospital email, city, pin code, password, and instead of number of rooms, you can write something like number of beds. How many beds are there in that hospital or nursing home? You can also write something like specialty and so on. So the number of columns that we create in a particular table, that that is decided after discussion with the client. So whenever you have to create an application, always discuss it with the clients, discuss it with your colleagues, and then you will come up with number of columns here. We are setting one constraint here. Remember, this is constraint, and we are calling it primary key. This is primary key constraint, and there is another constraint here which is not null. So there are two constraints here on columns: primary key on the hotel ID and not null on other columns. Now let's close this, hit save. You can also copy the SQL, go to this SQL tab and simply paste that SQL and run it, or you can simply save here. It is processing request, and you can see our table is now created, and we have this hotel ID, hotel name, hotel email, city, and various other things here. Now let's enter some dummy values in it. So there are two ways of inserting data inside this table. One is we can use the SQL command here. So go to SQL and you can type insert into, and I will show you that. But before that, I just want to show you about this tab here, which is there in PHP because all these options are there in PHP and they will help us a lot in quick creation and administration of these databases. So I am here in insert. Let's say first hotel's name is ABC Hotel. Hotel email is abc at example.com. You can see they have given a form here, right? We created something like this here for users, and PHP has given us a form here when we have created this table. Then city is, let's say for ABC Hotel, city is Delhi. Pin code is, let's say, 110011. Password is, let's say, ABC123. We'll use some encryption later. This is just for demonstration purpose. And number of rooms are, let's say, because we have to enter data in this format. So let's say number of rooms are 20 to 30. So I can copy this value here and I can hit go. Now you can see we have another query here. So after every operation we are getting some query. I will again make it smaller for you, so, or I will make it more readable for you. So insert into TBL, and you remember we did not enter the hotel ID because hotel ID is auto increment, right? So we did not enter it. So it has by default enter null here, but don't worry, null will not be entered in the column value. So this is the command for insert, guys. In SQL, if you have to write comments, you can write two hyphens. This is a single line comment, and this is insert query in SQL. How you can insert data in SQL? Sorry about that noise. So insert into table name. So I will write it here first so that you can match it. So insert into TBL name, whatever your table name is. Then with TBL name, create a bracket here, create opening and closing brackets here. And inside that, write name of your columns, call 1, call 2, call 3. You have to simply write name of your columns and then write values here and then write whatever values you have to insert. 1, 2. Now you have to very closely remember one thing, or you have to remember one thing. If your values are numeric, because for column 1, column 2 and column 3 will enter respective values in the same order. If your values are numeric, so for numeric values we should not use these inverted commas, single inverted commas. We can simply write numeric value like this. If the value is non-numeric, that is it's a string, so then you have to write it inside single inverted commas. In MySQL, you have to write it in single inverted commas. Right? You have to write strings in single inverted commas. Similarly, we so something similar we did in PHP also. We represented strings in double quotes or single quotes. Remember here in MySQL use single inverted comma, single inverted comma for values, left inverted comma for column name and table name and database name. I have already told you that. So we have to write something like insert into this left inverted comma. There are various names of this left inverted comma. So you can call it anything. I'm calling it left inverted comma. This particular inverted comma is just below the escape key with the tilde sign. So this is how we write an insert query, and then we have to write semicolon here. If your query, you have to end your query, and I will comment it. Similar thing is written here. You can see insert into TBL underscore hotel, hotel ID, hotel name, hotel email, city, pin code, password, num rooms. I also follow one really basic rule. While creating name for my columns, I follow the rule of variables. I don't write space here, and you can not you cannot write a column name with number in the first place. Avoid writing number in the first place. This will be invalid. And don't use any other special character other than this underscore. Suppose you have two words. For example, in hotel name we have two words. In hotel email we have two words. So use underscore. So with tables I use TBL. With databases I use DB, so that it is it will not become confusing for me. With every table I will use TBL, with every database I will use DB. Again, it's up to you what type of convention you want to use. I will also share some common type of conventions that are there so that you can synchronize with the industry standards. For now, I am just giving you some basic instructions here. So you can see insert into TBL, then we have values, and for every respective column, we have respective values. Again, for pin code, we can write it like this also, but if you will write it like a string also, then also there will be no problem because the data here is actually an integer, and that's why one row is inserted here. I will share this key also with you. So by using this SQL query, you will be able to create your table. By using this SQL query, you will be able to insert a dummy row. So I told you one data means one row. So you can see one row is inserted here. And this is the work of How or this is how you can create a simple database in your phpMyAdmin or MySQL, and this is how you can create a simple table. Again, if you have to insert another value, let's copy this query. I will show you how you can insert another value by just copying this query. Go to SQL. Let's say this hotel is BCD hotel. So its email is bcd at example.com. I forgot to add phone number. So I will add phone number later. And let's say the city of, because we can edit tables, we can modify them anytime. And let's say it is Varanasi. This particular hotel is in Varanasi. I don't know about the pin codes of Varanasi. I will write something here. So let's write something like a random pin code here, and let's say password is BCD, and number of rooms are, let's say, 10 to 20. Again, I will show you some more details about this also, but so you can simply go to your table and look here. The server is 127.0.0.1. That means it is our local host. Database is db underscore hotel management, in which we are working right now. The table is tbl underscore hotel, and now we can insert some data here. Click go, and now this row will also be inserted. Now we have two tables here, or two rows of data. See, you can see here in both cases we did not enter hotel ID. This is automatically created. That's why it was auto increment. So that is the meaning of auto increment. It will start by default from 1, and then it can go up to any particular number. And this is how we can create a simple table inside a database. In the upcoming examples, I will show you some more queries related to SQL. And in the meanwhile, you can go ahead, go to phpMyAdmin and start creating a database for your application. You can if your XAMPP control panel is running, and if you are not familiar on what particular address you have to go, so go to MySQL and click on admin here. Wait for some time. Whatever is your default browser, in your default browser, localhost phpMyAdmin will be open. Instead of this localhost, we can also write 127.0.0.1, and this will also open the same URL. So here we have our database. We can expand it, because I have another database here called db underscore super underscore score, and that's why it is saving a prefix here. So I can go to this db hotel management, and if you have to view your records, you can simply click the table and then you can view your records. I hope you have understood this concept. Go ahead, try creating some databases, and in the next part we'll learn more tables. I will also show you how you can create related tables. This is an independent table. In this table, there is no column which is a foreign key. So I will also show you various type of constraints. So go ahead, make these databases. Have a nice day. Hello friends, we are learning web development. In this part, we will learn creating a table with foreign key constraint. You will also learn what is foreign key constraint, and what is RDBMS, how we can set relationship between two tables of our database. So let's get started with this. Make sure you have XAMPP or WAMP server installed and running. So first of all, what is a foreign key? A field in one table of a database that refers to the primary key in another table. So we have two tables and two or more tables, and A field in one table of a database will refer to the primary key in another table. So in the previous example, we created a table called TBL hotel, and in that TBL hotel, we had a primary key, which was hotel ID. So there can be any number of tables in our database, and those tables can refer to this primary key. So we'll see one example first. Before that, there is parent table, table with the referenced key, and this child table, table with the foreign key. And now let's see. So here is our TBL hotel, you can see, which we created in the previous example. So we have hotel ID, hotel name, email, and various columns here. So suppose we'll create, let's say 20 hotels. There are 20 hotels in our database. There are details of 20 hotels. We created details of two such hotels, two dummy hotels here. Now we have to create another table here, and that table will be room table. We'll call it TBL rooms, and every room will have its unique ID. So for every, as we have unique ID for every hotel, so there will be a unique ID for every room also. Every room will have its name or its number. Let's see that. So we have TBL hotel here on one side. So let's say in TBL hotel we have these columns. You can clearly see we have various columns here: hotel ID, hotel name, hotel email, city, and so on. And we'll create another table. This is the task for this particular example. So we have to create another table, TBL rooms. After this, another table will be created, TBL customers. So we'll have other tables, but let's stick to TBL rooms first. So in TBL room, we have room ID, then we have room name, and we have room price. Now we know that it is a multiple hotel system. There can be any number of hotels in our database. So how we will identify that which particular room belongs to which particular hotel? So if you have to make a relationship between these two tables, so you must have hotel ID here also. So if you will set hotel ID here, then we'll be able to tell that which particular room belongs to which hotel ID, because at the time of creation of rooms, this hotel ID will be entered. And when this hotel ID is entered, then by using simple SQL joins, we'll be able to join various tables to get which particular room belongs to which particular hotel. We'll also be able to tell how many rooms are there in a particular hotel, what is the maximum price, what is the minimum price. We'll be able to sort the room on the basis of their price. So these are the things that we can do with SQL. So now here this room, this hotel ID is foreign key, and this room ID here is primary key in this table. In this table, if you are just concerned with this table, so in this table room ID will be our primary key and hotel ID will be our foreign key, and in this table hotel ID will be primary key and there is no foreign key in this table. So this table is our parent table. I will write it here. This table is our parent table in which we have the main key, and this table is a referenced table or the child table we can say, and in this child table we have the foreign key. There are some benefits of foreign key constraint also. I'll discuss the benefits also, and we can create the diagram like this. So we can create a relationship between these two tables. So remember, there is no relationship between other columns, but there is relationship between this column and this column. So we can separate various columns also. These are columns of a hotel. So I'm creating a very rough diagram here just to make you understand what is the concept of foreign key. So you can see that the primary key in one table is foreign key in another table, and this way we'll be able to tell that what that which particular rooms or which particular room belong to which particular hotel. If we have a single hotel management system, if we are creating database for a single hotel management system, then in that case it is quite obvious that we will have only one hotel, so we can tell that we have all these rooms belong to that particular hotel. But we are creating a multiple hotel system, that's why we have various hotel IDs here. Every hotel have their own identity, and on the basis of that identity we'll be able to identify that. Now let's see some query here and some benefits of foreign key. So when foreign key constraint is set, so foreign key constraint prevent actions that would break links between tables. So suppose there is a room which has reference key for any particular hotel, so we cannot delete that hotel because there are still some rooms which have their reference, so we cannot delete that. So foreign key constraint prevent actions that would break links between tables, and it prevents invalid data insertion in the column with foreign key. You know that in hotel ID we can have only integer values. In our case, we have set a primary key for hotel ID in such a way that it will have only integer values. So we cannot enter string values there. We cannot enter ABC, or we cannot enter hotel name or anything there. We will simple insert. We'll be able to insert only integer values there. Remember, we are learning this from the point of view of database only, from the point of view of MySQL only. When I will create forms, when I will create forms in which we have some relational data. For example, when I will create form for adding rooms, I already created a form for adding hotel. I will create a form for adding room, then in that form there will be an option to select the hotels, so then it will be more clear to you. For now you just have to understand that we have to set relationship between two tables if in any particular table we have relational data, we have relational data with the parent table. Now let's see a sample query here. So this sample query is to create a table called my orders, but because we want to create our own table, so we'll create TBL rooms. First I will set it as SQL. So I will share it with you, foreign key.sql, so that you can create any table which has foreign key. Create table TBL rooms. First line, we want to create a table in our MySQL database. Name of that table will be TBL rooms. So we can write left inverted commas here. First column will be room ID, room underscore ID. It will be integer and it will not be null. And we'll also make it auto increment. So auto increment. Next column will be room name. So I am calling it room name because it can be deluxe, super deluxe, whatever. So this will be room name, and it will be varchar, and let's say it will be varchar of 20, or let's say 50 characters. It will be not null. Then I will write room price. It will be varchar. Let's say for price we can set float value also. We can set decimal value also. So decimal is the data type that we can use for room price. So in decimal we write like this. Suppose we want that maximum decimal, there will be maximum of, let's say, 10 characters in which 2 will be decimals. So when you write decimal data type like this, so that means in room price we can have maximum of 10 characters including the decimals, and we'll have 2 decimals. So this is the work of decimal data type. It will not be null. So if you want to create columns for price like salary, price, charges, whatever, so I prefer decimal. So we have room ID, room name, and room price. If you will refer to this table here, so we have name, price, and we have another column here, and that column will be hotel ID. That will be our foreign key. So hotel ID will be integer because in the primary table hotel ID is integer. That's why we are writing hotel ID as integer here. Primary key will be set on room ID. Our room ID will be our primary key. Foreign key will be set on hotel ID, and it references TBL underscore hotel. So you know that we have already a table called TBL hotel. In that TBL hotel, there is already a key called hotel ID, which is being referenced here. So it will reference TBL hotels hotel ID. I will explain this once again. We are creating a table called TBL rooms. We are creating a database for a multiple hotel management system in which there can be n number of hotels. Every hotel has its unique ID. In one table, we have detail of all the details of any one particular hotel. We entered dummy details of 2 hotels here. You can see every hotel has a hotel ID. Now suppose I want to add some rooms in this hotel. So that's why I am creating another table here, which is table rooms. But without the help of this foreign key hotel ID in TBL rooms, how will I be able to tell that which particular rooms belong to which particular hotel? So for that we have to keep a hotel ID here, and we don't want invalid values in this hotel ID. We don't want hotel names to go there or someone entering hotel email or any other invalid detail here. That's why I am setting a foreign key constraint here. By this, a relationship between TBL room, so this will set a relationship between TBL room and TBL hotel, and this relationship will always be there. So if there is any particular room for a particular hotel, so we cannot delete that hotel, and that is the work of foreign key. We cannot insert invalid values in hotel ID, and there are many things. So foreign key hotel ID, that is foreign key hotel ID in this table. Here we have with foreign key in this bracket we have information of this particular table, and after references we have the another table and what is the name of column there. So so if you are getting, we can make it like ID hotel. Let's say in this column we are calling it ID hotel. This is just to make you understand that because in this table this name is ID hotel, and in the other table its name is hotel ID. So this is how we create a foreign key table. Let's copy this, and it is really simple to create a table using a SQL query. Go to SQL. Now we have to simply paste it here. Make sure that your correct database is selected and your correct table is selected. We can also set number of characters for integer, let's say 5, and let's create this table. If there is any error it will show us. So it is showing an error. So we also have some extra indent here, so we can reduce this indent because actually every line, this code is of one line only. So we have reduced the indent here, and now this is our correct query. I will copy this query here and let's execute this. Now you can see a table rooms is also created. In table rooms, if you will go to the structure, you will see that room ID is the primary key, ID hotel. You can see it's an index, and when you will go to ID hotel, you can see that it is set on column ID hotel. Is it null? Yes. So whatever indexes you have there, like primary key, foreign key, various indexes are there in this indexes section. And so this way we have set a primary key and a foreign key in this table. And this is our key, this is our query for creating that. Now let's write a query to insert some values here. So insert into tbl underscore rooms, and then we have to enter the name of columns here. So first room name, let's say room name is D101. Let's say in some hotel this is room D101, which stands for Deluxe 101. We can have SD 101, Super Deluxe, and so on. And let's say room price is 1200. We can add another column here for currency, or we can have a default setting for currency in the hotel mainly, so that we can understand what is the complete price here. Because it's a decimal value, so we can create it like 1200.00 also, and I will create it like 1200, and let's see what we have in the real answer. Remember, for decimal data type, I said the maximum will be 10, maximum number of digits will be 10, and in which there will be two places reserved for decimals. Then we have, after room price, we have ID hotel. Let's say we want to insert this room for hotel number 1. So because these are numeric values, so we can enter them without single inverted comma. Now we have to write values, and so these are our values D101 and this. So these are our values, and then we have to write the name of columns here. The first column is room name, second column is room price, and third column is ID hotel, and these are their values. Suppose we have to enter two values at same time, so I can write another comma and I can copy this, and let's say D102, and let's say the price for this is also the 1200, and let's say this room is also in hotel number 1, and we have D103. Then we can put a semicolon here, and now I will copy this. So I am trying to insert 3 rooms here, and let's see. Go. You can see 3 rows are inserted and 3 rooms are now inserted here. The most important thing, that when we created foreign key constraint, you can see we have a hyperlink here, and when you will click on this hyperlink, you will be simply able to see the name of that hotel to which this room belongs. So this is the benefit of primary key and foreign key constraint, that there will be a link between two tables, or we can say a relationship is set between two tables, and because of that relationship, this is called relational database management system. And now let's try to insert an invalid value here. So we can use the SQL here, and I will insert one value. I will try to insert an invalid value for room, for this ID hotel here. I will enter 3 for ID hotel. We already know that for TBL hotel we don't have, so we can open it in new tab. We can see that there are only 2 hotels, and one have ID1, another have ID2, and I am trying to insert a hotel with ID hotel of 3, and we have set a foreign key constraint. So you can see we have got an error here. It is very mandatory, or it is very useful to see and understand the errors. So cannot add or update a child row, a foreign key constraint fails. So you can see the nature of error here. Foreign key constraint fails, that we are entering an invalid value here. Let's say in now let's make it 2, and let's say the price for hotel ID2 is 1400 and the room is ST101. So now let's insert this. Now we have a valid value of ID hotel. So you can see it will be inserted. When you will see TBL rooms, we have ID hotel 1 and 2. So you can see we cannot insert invalid values here in that way, which is very helpful, because if we have invalid values of ID hotel, then it will make our system really useless, because when there is no referenced key here, so how will we tell that which particular room belongs to which hotel? Now you can click on the ID to see the detail of that particular hotel. This is the use of foreign key, and in this way we have already created two tables. One is table room and another is TVL hotel. Now in the next part I will show you how we can use our hotel form. So in the part of Bootstrap, we created this hotel form, hotel name, email, city, pin code, number of rooms, and various things are there, password and password again. So in that part, we created this. And now in the next part, using PHP language, we will see how we can insert value in a MySQL database. So there will be various steps. First, using PHP, we have to connect the MySQL server, and then we have to write all the queries in PHP, all the SQL queries in PHP page, and then from there we'll be able to insert data, and there will be various things related to that that will be told in various parts, various next videos. So go ahead, first try to create these two tables. It can be anything, like it can be a school, it can be a hotel, it can be a hospital, it can be anything, but the concept is create one table that is independent, which we call a parent table, and create another table that is dependent, in which we have a foreign key.